Anyone familiar with me or my videos should know at this point what my channel stands for. Freedom of speech, being against cancel culture, and keeping politics out of nerd culture. And this article that I found encapsulates all three perfectly. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and if you haven't heard, the star, or one of the stars of Scream 7, because we needed more Scream movies after the third, has been fired for her political speech, and in my opinion, protected speech that she should be allowed to have. And I think it's very interesting that there might actually be some individuals on our side of the fence who are cheering about this, who are happy about it, but I want to remind you guys that if we are to fight woke mind virus cancel culture, then we need to stay consistent with our morals and our beliefs, even when people we don't like are affected, or even when they're saying things that we don't like. Otherwise, we turn into the other side of the exact same coin as the woke left. So let's go ahead and get into this article about this individual's firing. Before we do, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 2,000 by the end of the year, and we've got less than 200 to go, so we're looking real close. But enough about that. Let's get into Scream 7 production company issues statement on Melissa Barrera's firing. Scream 7's production company, Spyglass, issues a statement regarding Barrera's firing, adding the actor's comments crossed the line into hate speech. So that's what they're calling this. They're calling it hate speech. Now, we've seen many upon many actor, comedian, artist, whatnot, anyone in this sort of Hollywood or nerd sphere where they sort of coalesce, canceled in the past for their speech. And I gotta tell you, it's mostly when it's right-leaning speech. However, she was talking about pro-Palestinian stuff. Now, I want you to take a moment and forget about your thoughts on Israel, Hamas, Palestine, the whole nine. I don't care what you believe in regards to the actual conflict itself, mainly because, as an American, I think that we're fixating on it far too much anyway. But regardless of where you stand on that issue, ask yourselves, do you think we should be firing people over what they say? Did you get upset when they fired other individuals for having right-leaning opinions? And if you got upset over that, then why would you be happy about someone being fired over left-leaning opinions? Again, we're asking for some philosophical consistency here when it comes to what we're asking for, what our goals are, what our aims are. So, going on with that, Spyglass, the production company behind Scream 7, issues a statement regarding the recent dismissal of Melissa Barrera, the talented Mexican actor. That's how you know there's going to be a bit of an ideological end to this. You know, they bring the fact that she's a Mexican, also actress, so wouldn't it be actress? She's a chick. Anyway, her race doesn't matter. I don't care if she's black, red, brown, Cuban, Asian, whatever. She's using her, constitutionally protected free speech to talk. Why does that mean she has to get fired, even if she's saying things that, honestly, are kind of, can be construed by some, I should say, to be abhorrent, especially since it is more or less left-leaning speech. That's what I really want to preface here, because, look, obviously not everybody is in 100% agreement. It's not like, oh, all the right wing is pro-Israel, all the left wing is pro-Hamas or pro-Palestine. You're going to have a lot of different ideologies sort of conflicting even within your own inner political circles, because this is such a convoluted issue. And again, an issue I think that we're focusing far too much on, but a convoluted issue nonetheless. However, how often do you see individuals fired for traditionally left-leaning speech? You do have more, on the left who are supporting Palestine or saying, anti-Israel, or however you want to phrase it. And so when you see this woman coming out in support of Palestine, which is the left-leaning ideology, and getting fired for it, that marks an interesting shift and turn in Hollywood, and one that I'm not sure what to make of. All I know is I don't like that she was fired over it. Anyway, the Mexican actor first cut her teeth in the acting industry, starring in telenovelas like 2015's Tanto Armor, and eventually securing a role in John M. Chu's critically acclaimed musical drama In the Heights. Wasn't Into the Heights a colossal failure? Like they say it was critically acclaimed. Oh, okay, maybe the actual musical, because the film, I believe, was a colossal failure. Anyway, she got her big break in 2022 when she starred in the 5th installment of the Scream series, playing Sam Carpenter, the older sister to Jenna Ortega's Tara. By the way, I've heard rumors that Jenna Ortega is also leaving Scream 7. I don't know if it's true or not, but it would just be funny that this film is falling apart at the seams, especially since I didn't really know this movie was in production. I rewatched Scream, like the very first one, Monday night. I hadn't seen it in like 20 years. So it's pretty interesting that I rewatched that movie, then all of a sudden all this Scream stuff is popping up, and my headlines, my articles. So yeah, if you don't think you're being tracked by the Google algorithm, then by all means, you're living behind the times. They are watching and listening to everything you say. or this is just a really interesting coincidence that I watched Scream and all of a sudden my newsfeed is flooded with Scream news. Anyway, playing Sam Carpenter, the older sister Jenna Ortega's Tara, Barrera is set to reprise her role in the forthcoming Scream 7, but she was recently fired due to her social media posts regarding the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. After news broke that Barrera had been dropped from the forthcoming Scream sequel, Spyglass initially declined to comment on the report because they don't want to come out and say they fired her for her speech, because that always gets individuals up in arms, usually individuals on our side of the fence. But again, typically when making right-wing statements, when you see people being canceled because they inadvertently said something racist when it wasn't really racist to begin with. So it makes sense they wouldn't comment on it because it's going to be a media firestorm. But here we are, a day before a long holiday weekend. Now they're going to make a statement on it, so this sort of stuff just falls to the wayside, so you don't focus on it. They're going to take a whole lot less heat when you're too busy making your turkey the night before or traveling hours upon hours to visit your family or whatever it is. So yeah, leave it to this time for a company to come out when they think they're safe. They ain't safe. That's why you got individuals like me, the ones that are going to report on the aspects of this stuff so that you know what the news is in nerd culture and you know what these big shady corporations are getting up to. Now, according to Variety, a spokesperson for the production company has come out to issue a statement pushing back on the narrative that Barrera was fired because she was supporting the Palestinian cause. According to the statement, Barrera's posts were seen to have crossed the line into hate speech, hence the decision to drop her. Now, this is the aspect that doesn't make sense. We didn't fire her because she was supporting Palestine, we fired her because of hate speech. So, what she was saying that you're deeming as hate speech was in support of Palestine. Where do you draw this line? This arbitrary line in the sand that makes you decide, well, it's the hate speech aspect, when hate speech is completely inaccurate, it's not real, and it's subjective at best. You can't go out there and claim something as hate speech that somebody else might not see as hateful at all. Do I agree with her pro-Palestine stance? Honestly, not really. I also don't have much of a pro-Israel stance. I'm very, old school Japanese isolationist when it comes to stop giving a damn about these, foreign wars and whatnot. However, if she's talking about pro-Palestinian stuff, then wouldn't that be why you fired her? You can call it hate speech all you want, but you're just muddying the waters at that point. Spyglass's stance is unequivocally clear. We have zero tolerance for anti-Semitism or the incitements of hate in any form, including false references to genocide, ethnic cleansing, Holocaust distortion, or anything that flagrantly crosses the line into hate speech. Melissa Barrera isn't the only one who's recently been dropped because of pro-Palestinian comments. Since she joined the Scream films in 2022, Barrera quickly became one of the core cast members of the franchise's new batch of movies. However, regardless of how important her characters become to the horror franchise, her recent comments have caused Spyglass to take the decision to drop the fast-rising actor. Barrera isn't, however, the only one who's been recently been dropped due to her stance regarding the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Earlier this month, it was reported the United Talent Agency dropped Academy Award winner Susan Sarandon as a client after comments she made regarding the conflict of a pro-Palestinian rally in New York. There are a lot of people that are afraid. They're afraid of being Jewish at this time, and they're getting a taste of what it feels like to be a Muslim in this country, Sarandon said at a rally. Now, is that a dumb, boneheaded thing for her to say? Absolutely. Should she be fired over it? Personally, I don't think so. However, I get what you're going to say. Well, Leon, these companies, they can fire people for whatever reason. They got the rights. They don't have to bow to the Constitution. They can fire you for whatever reason they see fit. It's their right to do so. And yes, it is. But that brings us back to the slippery slope argument, the slippery slope question. When we saw individuals like, James Woods or Matthew Marsden get targeted for their pro-right-wing speech, did we agree with that? Was that okay? No, it wasn't, and I am truly worried we're going to see our side celebrating the fact that these women, who are likely leftists, are getting fired for their speech because, they got a taste of their own medicine, when that's not what we should be advocating for. And that's the real reason for making this video, to make sure that everybody out there knows, hey, if we're going to be champions of free speech, we better damn well be consistent, unlike the woke left, in that we want all speech to be accepted. Obviously, there are going to be times when certain things go too far. There are going to be instances where a company should definitely fire somebody. But was Susan Sarandon out there, on her pulpit at this rally while she should have been at the studio making a movie? Was she doing this on company time? Was she doing this on the clock? What about the Barrera chick from Scream 7? Was she taking up company time and resources to make these statements? If not, then oh well, let them do what they want on their own time, and if you disagree with it, well, people need to start looking at individuals as individuals, and we need to make sure that we stick by our morals and our codes and state that we believe in free speech, regardless of whether it's speech that we actually agree with or not. All in all, this is less about the actresses that got fired and more about the idea that I'm worried about our side running with this and saying, haha, you get to taste your own medicine. You can call this karma, and that's fine. Like, I'm actively A-okay with being like, hey, you know what? They get what was coming to them, but don't celebrate it. Don't call for more of this, most definitely. If you see some Hollywood idiot out there, like, oh, what's his name? The loser that plays the Hulk. It doesn't matter. Really, any Marvel idiot. Here, we'll use Chris Evans. If you see Chris Evans out there saying pro-Palestine nutcasery, don't call for him to be fired, for example, because, well, that only makes us look like the left, like the woke ideologues that we spend so much time fighting against, and it harms our movement. Thankfully, I haven't seen anything like that thus far. I've not seen anyone from our side praising the firing, but it is worth noting that you're probably going to see some. There are going to be some idiots on Twitter, assuming this story is big enough, that talk about how because she's pro-Palestinian and it has these pro-Palestinian views, that she doesn't deserve to work in Hollywood, that she, she gets what's coming to her. I just don't think that's a productive way for us to go about spreading our message, because it makes us look like idiots, or worse, it makes us look like hypocrites. And that's the one thing you definitely don't want to be in situations when you're talking about the culture war, is a hypocrite. Because if you become hypocritical on your stance of free speech, then what else could you become hypocritical on, and how can they take anything else you say seriously after that? So, there's my thoughts on it. Make sure that we do not celebrate. In fact, we openly advocate against this woman getting fired, despite her likely leftist beliefs, and despite the fact that she would probably want you fired for your beliefs in a heartbeat, given that she's likely got the Hollywood mentality. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about, like Scream and horror movies, but anime, music, Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon. And remember, it's all here in the Nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.